You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Welcome to T-Minus Deep Space from N2K Networks. I'm Maria Varmazes, host of the T-Minus Space Daily podcast. Deep Space includes extended interviews and bonus content for a deeper look into some of the topics that we cover on our daily program. Our guest this week is Maynard Okereke, better known as the Hip Hop M.D. Maynard is an award-winning science communicator. Now let Maynard explain his work in his own words.
My name is Maynard Okereke. Also on social media, may know me as Hip Hop M.D. I have a background in civil environmental engineering from the University of Washington, and I work now as a science communicator with my platform Hip Hop Science, where I use music, entertainment, and comedy to educate on a wide variety of scientific topics, really with the goal of encouraging more minority and youth involvement into the STEM fields.
Maynard, thank you so much for that awesome intro. One of the many areas of science that you talk to people about is space, so that's what we're going to focus on for the purposes of this show. You just emceed the ISS R&D event. This is, I think, at least your second time doing it, which is awesome. I would love to hear your takeaways from that event, especially on the panel that you were on, but maybe just first some thoughts about how the event was, like any thoughts that you have about that.
Yes. Yeah. This was my second time at ISS RDC. Last year, I was a moderator for one of the main panels. And this year, they brought me back on as an official host for day 3 of the event. And I also had a chance to moderate a panel as well. And it's been an incredible event. The first time that I went last year was kind of my first immersion into it. And so I came in with a little different perspective this time around, having spent that time last year. And I found it as a very fantastic event. This is a great opportunity to get engaged in a lot of new things that are happening in the space industry. But I think the best part, actually, it's a really collaborative effort, and it brings a lot of people that aren't traditionally normally in aerospace, kind of space industry, to now be able to present ways that you could not only bring education, but technology, and also kind of explore the future of where space travel and space exploration is going. And I think the part that I appreciate about it is the educational aspect, because the whole goal is to really find ways to be more inclusive and bring in more voices into space industry. And ISS is obviously a great tool to be able to do that, because that in itself is the epitome of collaboration, right? You have so many different countries involved in space research. And, obviously, with our ties with or unties with Russia and everything like that, to be able to now have this kind of collaborative space, with the ISS, we are able to bring that down here and kind of bring that and kind of inclusion down here and kind of think about ways that we can be able to advance technology here on Earth by utilizing the resources of the ISS. And so for me, the educational aspect was really key to be able to bring educators on board, to be able to talk about programs that they can be able to introduce to their students. Even last year and this year, we presented awards for students that were able to come up with innovative ideas that they can be able to send to the ISS. And to think about someone in junior high school being able to work on a project and then literally be able to send it to space, to me, that's just fascinating. And so that was a really cool experience to be able to see all the different arms and tentacles that the ISS has on technology and research, and to see all the different types of people there at this event to learn about ways that they can utilize it.
That's so awesome. So much good educational outreach happening around the ISS. It just blows my mind to know what students are able to do now. It's just awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you emceed a panel about Space Workforce 2030. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the panel this year, we had some incredible voices in the space industry and education. And really the goal was to be able to talk about the future of the space workforce. And I think one of the interesting parts about that was really kind of describing what workforce is, right? Because it translates a little bit differently to everybody. But for me, I was coming at it from the perspective of how do we now ingratiate ourselves to kind of this new industry, this new wave of, you think about graduates, right? People that are coming out of their college degrees, getting into the field. And the new dynamics around kind of the culture, when we're thinking about diversity and thinking about inclusion. and gender diversity and all these different topics. And how do we now be able to find ways to be able to ingratiate within that new movement and to be able to diversify our workforce and to be able to come in with a fresh perspective where we can really be able to utilize the talents of so many people that are out there and to be able to reach those people in unique ways that we haven't done before. And I think all the panelists brought some really introspective views to that from different wavefronts, because we had professors there, we had people that are working in industry, we had people working for nonprofit organizations. And so there was kind of a methodology of ways that we can be able to not only reach youth, but also to be able to reach, other young working professionals that may be in other industries and other fields and showcase all the opportunities that are available to them within aerospace and the space industry in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important initiative. I mean, it's not just an initiative, it's an existential thing for aerospace to be able to reach new people and understand that things can't just be the way they've always been. We have to include everybody and everyone who's interested in working in aerospace. That also includes how we reach people and at a young age. And that's a huge part of what you do. And you do it extraordinarily well. I'm a big fan of what you do. And I would love to get your take on maybe what's working in the realm of space and space communication and maybe what's not working. What do you think people are doing well and what do you think people should be doing better?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one thing that we are doing a lot better at within the space industry is really showcasing the purpose of the technology, the purpose of exploration. We're starting to do a little bit better job at being able to bring that to the forefront. I saw that for a long time as one of the gaps in communication in general when it came to space exploration. Because you think about one of the main questions that you get from the general public. It's why are we going to space? Why are we exploring space when we have all these problems here on Earth? Which is a very valid question, right? We have so many different things between food shortage, water shortages, obviously things happening culturally and whatnot. There's so many different problems here to be able to solve. Absolutely correct. And we should be doing a better job at solving those problems for sure. But we're doing a lot better job at really kind of showcasing what space exploration does for us as a society, not only in advancing innovation and technology, but really also in bringing people together. Because like we talked about earlier, the collaborative effort that comes with space and space exploration, to be able to kind of show the humanistic side of everything. We think about things now with civilian space exploration and the overview effect and the better appreciation that we get of planet Earth by seeing it from space. There's different aspects of that really bring something unique and kind of a more introspective view to the general public when we really showcase what space exploration can do for us as individuals and bring us together as humanity. And I think we're starting to do a better job of that. And you think about things like, James Webb Space Telescope, and how that became kind of a huge fad, right, with the release of the first images and showcasing how we can literally look back into time. And we have so many different things, the double asteroid redirection test where we showcase that we can redirect an asteroid. And now we have OSIRIS-REx coming back in a couple weeks where we're going to bring back the first samples from an asteroid. So many amazing things that are now being brought to the public eye that I don't think were really brought to the public eye before. I mean, you think about all of our rovers that we sent to Mars, and for the most part, we're aware of it, but really, I didn't really think about it until, the most recent Perseverance rover, that there wasn't as much general public hype. We were just kind of we're sending stuff to space, but now it's we're sending stuff to space for this reason, for this purpose. This is helping us innovate and find new ways and find new technologies that can be able to assist us here on Earth. We're starting to bring that a lot more to the forefront. So I think that's being done very, very well. When it comes to the side of things that we could do better, I mean, I think there's different nuances for sure. One thing I think of is in regards to kind of ties into the panel that I was on in advancing the space workforce. My platform is all about bringing diversity and inclusion to the forefront. And I've had obviously a lot of discussions with women in the industry about the lack of gender diversity. And I think that's an area that we're starting to get a little bit better, but we can still do a lot of work on because there are still a lot of old school perspectives when it comes to aerospace. And I think we're just on the cusp now of addressing a lot of those. But I think there's a lot of work that can still be done to be able to showcase the importance of gender diversity and the importance of diversity when it comes to race as well, and setting up a more inclusive space. Those are areas that we can definitely do better on. And we're just starting to get there. We're starting to kind of spin that wheel a little bit and find unique ways. And that's why I was really excited to be part of that panel of advancing the space workforce, because we were able to address a lot of those issues front and center and be able to bring them directly to those people that are in the industry, those decision makers in the room that were there. That's the platform, and that's the space, that's the type of event that we need to have those discussions at. Not behind closed doors, not just within ourselves, but within those people that are literally making the change and have the power to be able to do so. And so I think to be able to have opportunities like ISSRDC to be able to address those topics, and then obviously having social media and these different platforms that we have to be able to bring those perspectives and those thoughts to the forefront as well, I think are now setting a new precedence for change.
We'll be right back. One of the amazing things that you do is you have this awesome persona, like Hip Hop M.D. You've always got like the headphones, and I love how you engage with youth. I think it's really great. And I would love to know, like, when you're having those conversations, especially with like younger kids about space, like what are you hearing? What's resonating when you're talking to kids?
I think in general, what I'm seeing within our youth, and I've done a lot of events. I recently did an event for Blue Origin. They had their very first inaugural Neo Symposium, and they brought a lot of high school students from across the country together to be able to come up with an innovative idea that they can utilize space to be able to help humanity. And I think we're starting to see that, and the youth are starting to get excited about what space exploration can do. And I mean, I grew up kind of in the era where, being an astronaut was just kind of like a fun idea. It's like, oh, what are you going to be when you get older? I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to go to outer space and float around. And that was kind of all we thought about when we were kids about space, and we're just astronauts and going to outer space. But now students are starting to see all the other opportunities around space exploration other than being an astronaut, because there's so many ways that we can be able to make an impact other than being that person that literally flies in a space shuttle or a spaceship to outer space. So you think about aerospace engineering, you think about people working on the manufacturing side, you think about people coming up with innovative technologies, you think about the fusion of all these unique fields. I have a friend of mine whose title is Astrofuture Biologist, and he thinks about ways that we can be able to advance biotechnology as humanity starts to explore space more and more. And so you're getting these kind of blends of titles. You have people that are doing astrobiology, you have people that are doing so many unique things where you'll be able to merge these kind of common career paths, these common career fields that we do here on Earth, and now be able to see how they play and how they interface with space. And I think that's starting to resonate a lot more with students. The wheels are starting to spin now, and they're starting to populate these ideas of how they can be able to impact life here on Earth in so many different ways outside of being an astronaut. And to me, that's a really cool perspective, because I didn't grow up with that kind of understanding and that kind of visual perspective. And our youth are really entranced within that now. They're starting to see all these other fields that they can be able to get into, which opens the doors, because now it's like, okay, maybe I might not be that adventurous one that literally wants to get in a spaceship or be blasted off on a rocket to space, but I can be able to be involved in so many new things, robotics and like you mentioned, engineering and testing and all these different things come into play. AI even, right? Where we can track asteroids and track the path of asteroids and space debris that we have in outer space. There's so many innovative ways that they can still participate in the uniqueness of space exploration outside of just the concept of being an astronaut. And I think our youth are starting to see that.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and I'm definitely one of those. I would be way too scared to go off into space personally. Not that anyone's asking me, but I know I would be one of those, like, I'll stay on the Earth. So that's great for my fellow scared of space, but excited about it types, right? So you've done an amazing amount of stuff. I mean, you were just on the Nautilus Sea expedition. Any thoughts about like the relationship between water and space and exploration? This is sort of a vague question, but any lessons there from that experience? Any thoughts on how that could apply to space?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a direct connection, right? I mean, we think about astronauts that train to go to outer space. One of the ways that they train is doing underwater exploration, right? You're getting scuba certified for one, but you have a whole kind of testing facility where they're in a giant swimming pool and you're testing all the kind of mechanics and engineering aspects that you'd be doing in space. You're doing that underwater because that's kind of one of the best simulations of experiencing weightlessness is to literally be able to do that underwater. So there's already a direct connection when it comes to that. But we think about the exploration factor, and that's always a common question. I always love asking that question because you get really different, unique perspectives. Like, would you rather go to deep space or go to the deep sea? And you have really two different fields of people that would do one or the other, or maybe neither, right? Yeah, right. I've always been a deep sea lover.
Yeah.
I've always had a fascination with the deep sea. Obviously, space. I love space, and I would love to explore space as well. But the deep sea for me has a special place. One, because it's right here, it's right in our own backyard, and the fact that we've actually done more deep space exploration than we've done deep sea exploration is mind blowing. The fact that that's right here on Earth, and we're still trying to develop technologies to be able to explore the deep sea. So part of what I did on the EV Nautilus was some ocean exploration, one in obviously marine biology research and discovering new species and seeing what type of life is down there in the deep sea, but also doing hydrography work and mapping out the deep oceans. And there's a mission to have the entire ocean floor mapped by 2030. And so part of our research was doing that and actually coming up with detailed visual maps of what it looks like underwater. And you think about James Webb that's given us photographs of all these galaxies and stars in the universe. And we're doing that underwater. We're mapping out terrain. We're mapping out volcanoes and volcanic activity and valleys and canyons and all these different things underwater. And to be able to get that visual of what it looks like is absolutely valuable. And I think that kind of same precedence of change of when we're talking about space exploration, how it's advancing our knowledge of ways that we can be able to innovate here on Earth, the same is happening with underwater exploration. The more that we can learn about how the Earth was formed and and how life was developed underwater, how life may have started in hydrothermal vents, right? That understanding opens up so many different things for us here on Earth to be able to, one, know how to better protect our planet, know how valuable this resource is, and know how precious life is here on Earth. And so I think there's a really unique juxtaposition when it comes to deep sea exploration and space exploration because they're very similar in a lot of different ways, the difficulties of being able to do both, but also how much the exploration into both of them advances us as a society so much more. And so for me, being a part of that exploration and having my chance to be part of the EV Nautilus was definitely mind-blowing and eye-opening as well, too. And I think a lot of people are starting to see the uniqueness of both.
That's so cool. Thank you for that great answer. Well, Maynard, I know we're coming to the end of our time, but I wanted to sort of give you the floor. If there's anything that you wanted to say to my audience or that we didn't address that you'd like to talk about, I wanted to give you that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned, one of the things we wanted to highlight was kind of the advancement of, purpose of why we're doing space exploration and what it brings for us here on Earth. And I just wanted to just really touch on kind of what we started talking about with the space workforce panel in regards to diversity and inclusion, and really kind of address that just kind of in a quick nutshell about really the general importance of that, right? Because I think a lot of times we talk about diversity and inclusion, but we think a bit like, oh, yes, we just want to get more people of color and more people involved in this. And that's one aspect of it, but understanding the reason why gender diversity is important, the reason why cultural diversity is important. One is because we get to bring so many new innovative ideas to the table that you don't get if you just have a monolithic perspective. You want to be able to get so many different people with different experiences, different lived experiences, different cultural experiences, because they all bring new ideas to the table. And the only way that we're going to advance and innovate is if we bring new ideas to the table. And you're not going to get that if you just get the same people having the same conversations and the same dialogue within people that look like themselves. And so that's the purpose when we talk about diversity and inclusion, is be able to amplify opportunities to be able to innovate and grow as a society. And that's really the crux of it and the importance of it. And overall, I appreciate you having me on this platform to be able to talk a little bit about that and the work that I do with my hip hop science platform, because that's at the crux of it is the goal, is to be able to bring the uniqueness of exploration within space and all these other areas of STEM, because I talk on a wide variety of STEM topics, to be able to now bring these things to the forefront and show the general public all the exciting things that are happening in science and encourage them to participate in it, encourage them to go into careers in these fields, encourage youth, encourage people that are working professionals to think of ways that they can think outside the box and transition into new areas and bring this excitement of science to the general public. Because I always grew up with a kind of natural curiosity, and I think it's important that we as adults even continue to have our curiosity sparked, to be able to continue to find new ways to be able to know that these things are exciting and that these things exist, because it only helps us as a society to be able to grow and continue to innovate. And so I'm just happy to be able to partake in this science communication world and to be able to at least utilize my voice to help hopefully set change in the future.
That's it for T-Minus Deep Space for September 9th, 2023. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. You can email us at space@n2k.com or submit the survey in the show notes. Your feedback ensures that we deliver the information that keeps you a step ahead in this rapidly changing space industry. This episode was produced by Alice Caruth, mixing by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Brandon Karp. Our chief intelligence officer is Eric Tillman. And I'm Maria Varmazis. Thanks for listening.